Are you looking for a simple antenna for 2 meters FM that's got a bit of gain, that gets out further than a 1/4 or 5/8 wavelength ground plane? If so, this vertical extended double zepp might be the answer. It's really simple to build. All it is 2 lots of 5/8 wavelengths and a matching section. Not only on 2 meters, but also 6 meters FM, where it works as a vertical dipole. It gets its gain by squashing the radiation pattern, so there's less high angle radiation and more low angle radiation directed right at the horizon. That makes it ideal for long distance FM simplex and repeater contacts. Not so good though for satellites. With that, you should stick with your ground plane or preferably a circularly polarised antenna. If you've got long enough bits of old TV antennas, that may be suitable material. Or you may even use metal strip from a dismantled sunshade. I got the idea from an article in the WIA book, published nearly 40 years ago. This particular version was fed with 300 ohm ribbon, 5/8 of a wavelength in the top section, another 5/8 in the bottom section, and a matching section of 0.11 of a wavelength. In this case, it's shorted to match the 300 ohm TV ladder line being used for the feeder. My version is fed with 50 ohm coax. The dimensions are 1.33 meters for both the top and bottom 5/8 wavelength vertical sections, and the horizontal sections are each parallel 23 centimeters, or 1/8 of a wavelength. Add 5/8 and 1/8 and you get 6/8, or 3/4 wavelength. That presents a lower impedance to the 50 ohm feed line that I'll be using. So all up, the whole thing is about 2.7 meters tall. Because this is an experimental antenna, I've just got it taped to a piece of dry broomstick. Although ideally, if you're building it properly for long-term outdoor use, you'd want to have insulated standoffs, or even metal rigid enough not to require the broomstick at all. This is the top of the antenna. The metal is just rigid enough, at least for this temporary arrangement, to stick out the top of the broomstick. And as we pan down, you'll see the matching section and the coax feed line. Each is 23 centimeters long. The insulating tape you see here has a bit of chopping board in between to provide a bit of rigidity and to stop these from shorting out. I've attached a coax socket, a BNC, straight to the end, although if you're making this a permanent arrangement, you would probably want a 1-to-1 balun here. Ideally, the feed line should be brought out at an angle and some distance from the radiating element. And then another identical section for the lower portion. A good thing about this antenna is if you're in an area where your antennas can't stick out, you can build it so it's concealed in the canopy of a tree. That should be good enough for local repeaters and short distance simplex contacts. VK3YE testing. In the middle of the FM portion, it's 1-to-1. It appears pretty flat. The bonus is 6 meters. At least for the FM portion, above 52 MHz, the antenna is usable up there as well. So not only are you getting a gain antenna for 2 meters FM, but you're also getting a perfectly useful vertical dipole for 6 meters FM.
Just set up this 43 for vertical, and it's been okay. Good to hear you, and thanks for at least putting the message out and giving me my first contact on 6 meters. So that's good stuff. VK3YE, VK3MPC.
I've now lashed it to a metal pole, so we've now got some good height. On the far left is the vertical zepp that I'm testing. On the far right is the diamond 2 meter 70 centimeter antenna. as you can see, they're about the same height.
080 passing 2,800, climb to 5,000. I'm 4,700. Delay McBain, thanks.
What about 70 centimetres? The VSWR is low, but I'm not going to trust this antenna because I'm just using RG58 coax, which is likely to have a fair amount of loss. A low VSWR can sometimes lure people into a false sense of security. The instruments might indicate that all is well, but what could actually be happening is just the feed line is very lossy, concealing a severe mismatch.
No reason to go to JB Hi-Fi, not a wadding. You know the history of JB Hi-Fi, don't you?
Just found a simplex contact.
A little bit noisy. What did you say? Oh no. JB Hi-Fi started out in the Centreway in East Keilor and was there for many years, just in a little tiny shop.
This is inside on the commercial rig using a diamond antenna, and the signal I'm hearing is very weak. Not all of that is going to be due to the antenna. I know this Midland is a little bit less sensitive than the FT817. This is the diamond. We'll now plug in the other antenna. And definitely better. Not quite as good as the FT817, as the Midland is less sensitive, but there's still a good improvement in readability, from being only just detectable to being readable signals. This is despite me using RG213 coax for the diamond and two sections of RG58 patched together for the feed line to the vertical extended ZEP. So if I was to use the vertical extended ZEP and RG213, signals would likely be better again.
VK3YE, VK3BCU. Hi there, Peter. I've just upped the power a little bit. Look, you're a little bit noisy, but certainly Q5, go ahead.
Yeah, Roger, I'll just swap to the other antenna.
No problem, just stand by, Harold.
This is the other antenna, over.
Okay, that's noticeably worse. The other one you're kicking up to like about a strength 2, like fluttering. This one sort of just barely kicking up the meter, go ahead.
Here's another comparison with a repeater on the other side of Melbourne. That was with the diamond. The repeater tail was noisy. That was with the ZEP. The repeater tail is almost fully quieting. You've seen the results and they're conclusive. A vertical extended ZEP gives great performance on 2 motors, even when it had a handicap of less efficient feed line. You might also be lucky and have it working on 6 motors and also, in a pinch, 70 centimeters as well. If you're thinking about what to put up for a good antenna for 2 motors FM, then the vertical extended ZEP, though less well known than other types of antennas, is a good choice to consider.